Thanks everyone for coming out this evening to listen to this presentation in regards to poverty and student achievement. We're going to focus on grade 3 in our Pinecrest Elementary School. Pinecrest grades go 3 through 5. And as we move on in this PowerPoint, we'll look at some data to see why it's important to focus on these kids of poverty. Like I said, Pinecrest School is grade 3 through 5. And the enrollment there is 513 kids. 57% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch, which means they are in poverty. So we have to find a way to help these kids be engaged and ready to learn when they come to school. 22 incidents were reported on poverty kids for office referrals. It means they got in trouble in school and they had to come to the office, and we want to make sure that number goes down this year. 67% of the kids had unexcused absences, and we want to make that number go down also because if kids not in school, they can't learn. We want to make sure that we're giving them that instruction to move forward in life, the good foundation. Now we took 3 assessments for these kids here at Pinecrest, and we have the ARM+, we have Star Math, and ACT Aspire. Now ACT Aspire we were the only state, Alabama, to take this test, and other states are not taking this test, so I think that in the long run it's going to be a great measurement to see how kids are doing across the country. So we're going to look at Star Math, ACT Aspire, and ARM+. Here at ARM+, you see that 10% of all males scored level 1 and 2. Now, scoring level 1 and 2 is not good. That means that these kids did not benchmark or have not mastered the content area. As you move on down, we'll see that 15% of the black scored level 1 or level 2, and 16.3% of poverty students were level 1 and 2. So we got to do a better job at encouraging these kids to do better in school and taking away those exterior barriers that disallow them to come to school and engage and ready to learn. ACT Aspire, as I said earlier, the 3rd grade in math, only 54% of the kids in math benchmarked at Pinecrest. So that means that 46% of the kids did not benchmark. And we got to do a better job of educating these kids, instructing these kids in the classroom. And 3rd grade reading was very low, also at 38%. Did a lot of research and looked at why kids are not learning. What can we do to help these kids? Poverty students can learn. There was I guess a myth back in the day where they felt that kids of poverty could not learn. So they did not teach these kids. They did not set high standards for these kids. But we want to do the opposite here. We want to make sure these kids are here and we're going to teach them, because at the end of the day, we can only teach the kids who are at school. Whether they come as impoverished, they come rich, poor, we have to teach those kids, no matter who they are. So as we move on, we'll see that 90% of the teachers fail to understand the potential of poverty students. Because actually in undergrad, the teachers are taught to teach to the middle class. And they don't think about the impoverished kids. And these are the kids that are falling through the cracks. This is why the dropout rate is so high. Because these kids are not being reached, they're not being saved in the school system. Another fact is that the environmental factors affect poverty students' learning. You know, kids who have dysfunctional homes, they have violent environments, drugs, things of that nature they're not coming to school to learn. They have other things in their minds besides learning. So we got to find a way to reduce those barriers where kids can come to school ready to learn. That way, that means we got to get the community involved also. And we'll see that as we move forward. The book that I read was Engaging Students of Poverty in the Mind by Eric Jensen. And he had many great facts about kids of poverty and how to engage those kids into our lesson and instruct them. Teachers struggle to engage poverty students. As I said earlier, because we teach to the middle class. Teachers should set high standards for those kids, according to Eric Jensen. And I agree with that, because if you don't set high standards, they're not going to achieve. You know, if they fall short, they still did great. Moving on down, poverty students lack resources. Of course, we all know that. Exposure. These kids of poverty do not get the exposure. They don't have the community resources, the education resources they need to be successful in school. So it's important and imperative to give these kids the adequate resources to learn. and the lack of high quality instruction. We have to find ways to instruct those kids and give them that high quality instruction, because many times kids of poverty are placed in teachers who are in experienced classrooms, which they are novice teachers, so they don't know how to teach these kids. We need to give these kids the most seasoned and the better instruction to move forward to learn. Moving on, here's some 7 engagement strategies that Eric Jensen mentioned in this book. He mentioned health and nutrition, vocabulary. You know, vocabulary is important because once a kid learns how to speak and identify words they can achieve, and you're not talking over their head. Energy and effort is important. That means that we as educators got to put in that time to help these kids of poverty and not forget about that we are not in their position. We're not walking in their shoes. They have many things they got to face every day. And our mindset, as a teacher or educator, we can't come in with a negative mindset of kids of poverty. We can't look down at those kids. So that's important. The cognitive capacity of those kids, relationships, and stress levels are all other strategies that Eric Jensen mentioned. Just to kind of look at relationships, I feel that relationships with kids with poverty is important. I think about an illustration of Bo Jackson in Rudy Payne's book, Understanding Kids of Poverty. Bo Jackson was one of the greatest athletes ever to play any sport, but he was poor, and the teachers and the coaches identified his skill and his talent, and they kind of showed that they cared about it. And by doing this, Bo Jackson was able to be successful because he had that relationship. And these kids of poverty do the same thing. Relationships are important. Intervention strategies for kids of poverty, and all kids. Response to instruction, which is RTI. We have 3 tiers there. You have a tier 1, which all kids get instruction. Tier 2 is more for small groups, and tier 3 for one-on-one instruction. So that's important. But in my research, I have what you call an experimental group. And this experimental group received expanded learning time. And this came about by the Twilight School or Saturday School, where these kids got extra instruction, they got more resources, they have more people to come in and to see what they're doing, to spend more time with them. Anticipated findings in my research, you'll see that we're hoping that the achievement of those kids improve by giving them more resources, by providing mentorship for these kids, expanded learning time through Twilight School and through Saturday School, reducing awful referrals. If kids are in trouble all the time in the office, they're not learning anything. So we got to keep them in the classroom to get that instruction. Improving their attendance in school. They got to be in school to learn. So if we can keep these kids in school, keep them out of the office, then these kids can learn like everybody else. So we're going to try to focus on that, and we're going to do that. That's my approach here in this research. And also to influence parents, schools, and communities to work together. We got to have all of them work together to help these kids. The old saying is that it takes a village to raise a kid, and that's true in education also. Many times parents come to the school when things are going to go wrong. We want to get those parents in the school when things are going right also, not just when it's going wrong. And this is what I think with Twilight School and Saturday School is going to help these kids, these parents get involved with the student education. Moving on, I mentioned the expanded learning time will reduce the external barriers, like I mentioned, the drugs, the violence that they encounter every day. We're going to try to reduce those things. They come to school ready to learn. Provide more community service resources through mentorships, many different activities outside of school is going to be great. Improving that relationship once again with all stakeholders. Everybody taking interest in those kids, poverty kids, we're focusing on here. In my research also, we'll see that we're hoping that the student assessment scores increase by 5%. If we can do that, then we've done a great job. That's a large number to increase by 5%. So that's going to be the number we're going to look at improving our kids' scores on assessment, like ACT, ARP, and ACT Aspire, those 3 assessments there. Provide daily focus on student achievement weaknesses. With Twilight School, Saturday School, we can take those fine or the weaknesses and focus on those things, whether it be vocabulary, whether it be comprehension, adding, subtracting. Take those weaknesses and focus on those things in Twilight School and Saturday School. Provide more additional strategic teaching, whether it be turn and talk, twirl, whether it be peer teaching or peer learning. Those things are important also, and more quality instruction. Getting those retired teachers involved in Saturday school and also twilight school. Last but not least, I feel that once we put all those pieces together as far as twilight school, Saturday school, parental involvement, school, parents, community involvement, it's going to provide a new future for those kids of poverty. New destinations are ahead for those kids, and then they can achieve, and they got that hope to move forward. I want to thank you for coming out this evening and listening to this powerful presentation on poverty and student achievement. Welcome to our schools anytime you want to see what your kids are doing in regards to achievement and how we're operating there. Thank you once again.